workers who have kept our country running during this public health emergency, the essential workers that we all pay lip service at least to, are often the lowest paid workers in our economy. They're usually women. They're disproportionately black and brown workers. Too often they don't have a union. They're low-wage workers who do the laundry at hospitals, who prepare our food. They put their lives on the line to keep our country running. They're still worried about paying the bills, staying afloat, and staying healthy. Ms. Secretary, do you think that's fair?
Mr. Senator, I apologize due to the technical issues. I didn't hear the beginning of your question, so I heard you think that's fair, but I didn't hear the question.
The people who are we call the essential workers, and we call out and thank, those essential workers are often the lowest paid workers. They do the laundry, they're the custodians, the security people. They prepare our food, they put their lives on the line for very low wages, and they're still worried about their paying the bills. Is that fair?
Well, Mr. Senator, I just want to thank all the essential workers, whether it be the healthcare people, the
thanking is great, but these are people. Is it fair that our economy pays the essential workers so little in such work conditions?
Mr. Senator, some of those people are paid less than others. Again,
my question is that fair?
Again, Mr. Senator, I don't know what specific workers you're referring to.
I can lay them all out. I'll try the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Mr. Chairman, is it fair that those workers who are exposing themselves to this virus, that are making low wages, we call them essential by all of our definitions? Is that fair?
You know, those are workers who are basically in the service sector. That's what's unusual about this, is it's all about the service sector, and particularly those parts of the service sector that are where there are lots and lots of in-person contact. And those tend to be lower paid workers, and they're definitely the most affected. And I would just say that, you know, all of our efforts are to do what we can to help those people and create conditions so that they'll have the best possible chance to get back to work.
Well, some of the best things you both could do is to support pandemic pay for these workers and support another recovery act that included more dollars for these low-paid workers who we continue to celebrate as essential. Mr. Secretary, we passed the CARES Act to help millions of workers who make our country work. You've set up CARES Act programs to lend trillions of dollars to companies. Am I right that you're not requiring companies to use the money they borrow to keep their workers on the payroll?
Mr. Senator, I am following what was the exact letter and spirit of the law that we negotiated with you and others on a bipartisan basis. In some of these facilities, there are specific requirements, and I assure you that the chair and I are absolutely enforcing those requirements as required in both the literal and spirit of the negotiations.
Well, that was nice sounding words, but the administration is willing to send people to work without regard for their safety. But the administration's unwilling to make sure these trillions of dollars in taxpayer money will help these workers directly. Secretary Mnuchin, let me go somewhere else. Public health experts have told us it's not safe to reopen the economy until we have worker protections in place that will control the spread of COVID. Things like testing, contract tracing, protective equipment, efforts that the president has clearly failed to lead to help our country. Secretary Mnuchin, you said there's considerable risk of not reopening, that keeping some businesses closed could cause permanent economic damage. How many workers will die if we send people back to work without the protections they need, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Senator, we don't intend to send anybody back to work without the protections, and I would say I was prepared to come there today. I thought it was safe to testify. Matter of fact, I already was at the Senate this morning wearing a mask. And I assure you, both myself and everybody on the task force, the vice president and others, are following the best medical advice. And I couldn't be more proud of the medical advice that we're getting and the way the economy is opening up in a safe way.
So how many workers should give their lives to increase our GDP by 0.5%? That you're pushing people back into the workplace. There's been no national program to provide worker safety. The president says reopen slaughterhouses, nothing about slowing the line down, nothing about getting protective equipment. Is how many workers should give their lives to increase the GDP or the Dow Jones by 1,000 points?
No workers should give their lives to do that, Mr. Senator, and I think your characterization is unfair. We have provided enormous amounts of equipment. We've worked with the governors. We've done a terrific job of getting...
Mr. Secretary, I'm not going to let you make a political speech about what a great job. We hear that from the president in his news conferences, when in fact this country, the president is still not led an effort to scale up testing. He's played state after state, state against state. He's played hospital against hospital to get protective equipment. Everybody in the country, your comments notwithstanding, knows that. Chair Powell, you said last week the additional fiscal support could be costly, but worth it if it helps avoid long-term economic damage and leaves us with a stronger economy. So Congress needs to think about more than just the national debt right now. It's less costly to act today to help people than to pay for our failure to act in the future. Is that right, Mr. Chairman?
And if you'd answer quickly, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Well, that is what I said. I said it could be. This is really a question for Congress to weigh. I wanted to call out a risk there, which was the risk of longer-term damage to the economy, and that's what I was doing. And I said we may need to do more, and Congress may as well.